Retro Warriors episode 436.
Woo!
As always, I'm your host, Justin Baker, and as always, I'm joined by Viable Human Chris Saturn.
Hi, Justin.
Hi, Saturn. We're here. Saturn might
How
sound...
caffeinated are you?
I'm crashing. I know. No one anticipated this at any juncture,
Certainly not.
and somehow, here I am on the tail end of my caffeine high.
Who would have thought?
Fully out of stimulants. Just spent 20 minutes talking about Christmas and how much it sucks. As far as housekeeping, Saturn's still sick, so he might sound sick. So if that's,
sorry.
if you don't want to hear that, then sucks to be
Yeah.
you.
I don't sound nearly as bad as I did on that episode that I recorded when I had COVID.
Yeah. I also remember my COVID episodes.
Yeah.
It was dark. I remember recording with the humidifier next to me because I couldn't not cough without it in the room.
Right.
That was the ordeal. Anyway,
mhm.
my week.
Yes.
I picked up Stronghold HD.
Oh, yeah.
Just came out
How
on
was that?
Steam. That's a fun game.
Yeah.
I never played Stronghold when
Oh.
it was a thing.
Yeah.
I had gotten it for free at some point from GOG and played that version of it. And then the like HD definitive edition just came out,
Mhm.
and I picked it up, and it's still a fun game.
Oh, yeah.
It's goofy and fun, and it encapsulates what I love about RTSs, which is building a big base and just kind of sitting there and watching enemies crash wave after wave into your wall.
Yeah.
But I don't have to like fight an opponent or anything. It's just literally like, hey, what if you built a nice castle?
I remember when I was working at EB, the Take-Two rep brought us a copy of Stronghold, and before they gave it to us, our Take-Two rep always sounded like they didn't care about video games and really hated being around people that talked about them, which is not the personality type you want to have when you represent a company that makes video games.
No.
And the Take-Two rep had come in and was like, I got some free game for you. And my boss was like, is it Grand Theft Auto 3? And he reaches into his bag and it's like, no, it's some computer game. And
some computer game.
and just hands us a copy of Stronghold. And then after he left, my boss was like, I don't even play games on computer. You can have it. That's how I got Stronghold.
It's a fun game.
Yeah, it's
and
fun.
the HD edition is very nice.
Yeah.
Runs very nice. I
excellent.
like it.
Good to hear.
I picked up there's this new Godzilla game that came out called like Godzilla Voxel Wars or something.
Yeah, I saw somebody posted about that.
Yeah, it sucks.
Oh.
It's not like bad. It's just like, hey, you remember Into the Breach? What if it wasn't as good as Into the Breach?
I love things that are not as good as other things.
Would you like that if Into the Breach, but like kind of worse, and with an inexplicable soundtrack of exclusively Godzilla music, but done only in violin? Like they could only hire violinists for the soundtrack. Also, the entire thing is couched in this kind of visual aesthetic of these are toys being played with in a toy room by a small child.
Nice. That's
Also, not as good as Into the Breach. So if you liked Into the Breach, but you were like, I wish it was worse and looked worse and sounded worse, then maybe you'll like Godzilla Voxel Wars. And so then I was just like upset because I was like, this isn't good. And I ended up returning. Like, it's not terrible.
Yeah.
It's just not like fun, you know? And so I was like, are there any Godzilla games on Steam? And I went searching just for Godzilla on the Steam store,
Yeah.
and I found a game called Giga Bash.
Yeah.
Which is basically like, hey, what if King of the Monsters, but now times? And so it's King of the Monsters, but it is now times. And there is Godzilla DLC, and there's a free demo. So I was like, well, I'll check out the Giga Bash game because they have Godzilla DLC and either Ultraman DLC, either out or forthcoming.
Yeah.
And I was like, I like Godzilla and Ultraman, and I want to fight them up against each other. And I played the demo, and I cannot fucking figure out what the fuck is happening.
Yeah.
I have no idea. It's so weird and confusing and very difficult. And so I just ended up turning my computer off. I was like, that's enough. I think I've ruined my afternoon badly enough that I'm just going to have to move on. So I was disappointed in Godzilla Voxel Wars. Again, not
Sad.
a bad game, but I'll tell you what I did is I returned it and then I went and bought Into the Breach on Switch because I was like, man, the whole time I was playing it, I was like, oh, Into the Breach was so good.
Did you ever play the Godzilla game on PS4 that got stupid expensive?
No, that was one that like I almost picked up, but reviews seemed kind of middling on it.
Yeah, that's what I would
And
always heard too.
I was like, I've played enough mediocre Godzilla games in my day. I had an NES. I know the kind of trash I have in
I
store
remember
for
seeing
me.
reviews were like less than average. Like it looked kind of
didn't
like
do
it was
good.
crap. But
Yeah.
then next thing I know, it was like $400 everywhere.
Yeah, it was really, as far as I know, it was really limited, and I heard it wasn't good.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too.
So I just never picked it up. So yeah, of the 3 games I played,
Yeah.
because I downloaded Into the Breach after playing Voxel
Mm-hmm.
Wars because I was like, man, what a game! Into the
Yeah.
Breach is so good, and then didn't play it and played Stronghold HD, which is still good.
Now,
What if
is it
what?
the HD version of Stronghold or the definitive edition that you're playing?
It is the definitive
Okay.
edition. I guess the version I had before was the HD version.
Probably, yeah.
And then my current version is the definitive. I don't know what makes it definitive compared to the HD version.
It says definitive in it.
It does say that.
Yeah.
That's
That's how you know. That's the difference.
I don't know what they've added to make it
I
so
didn't-
definitive.
I didn't look into it, so I'm not sure.
It seems to be like remade.
Nice.
But it's very good. It's a very fun game. What have you been playing, Saturn?
Oh, before we get started, about Stronghold, real quick.
Oh yeah.
Did you play any of the other games the Firefly put out?
No.
They teamed up with Firaxis and did Civ City Rome,
Oh.
which is a city builder based on Civilization, but it takes place in the Roman era.
Mm-hmm.
And on paper, that all sounds really cool.
Is it on Steam? I don't see it on Steam.
I don't think it's on anything anymore. I have it on CD-ROM.
That's
It's
like a baby's toy.
right. It is on Steam. Civ City Rome on Steam.
Okay.
It's $10. It was, you know what? If it had been $10 when it came out, I probably would have recommended it to people.
That bad, huh?
It's not great. It's very bland is its problem.
Yeah.
It's a fine game that's just very bland.
Yeah.
Anyway, still playing the Marios, but slowly
Yes.
digging my way through that.
How's that going?
It's good. I'm still digging on it. It is still fun. It is what I want. I meant to force Andrew to play multiplayer with me when he was here, and then again when both you guys were here, and then I completely forgot.
I didn't even think about it.
Yeah. But anyway, also, I was digging through Game Pass, and someone online told me to play this game Maquette, I think is how it's pronounced.
Mm-hmm.
It is. I don't know why they thought I would want to play this. It is a first-person adventure game.
Okay. Okay.
And by adventure game, I mean like the old point-and-click adventure.
Oh, all right.
But
right
it's
up
first person.
Saturn's alley.
It's basically Myst, but instead of the story being like this puzzle about a lost civilization, it's a puzzle about a couple whose relationship is falling apart, and they're having very realistic and uncomfortable arguments with each other in the background.
This feels like not a thing I want a video game about.
It's really painful. The problem is the puzzles that the game is built on are kind of fun. And I hate
Like, I'm sure someone is enjoying this game and it's helping them work
Right.
through some stuff, and good for you, but
Yeah.
I don't, man.
I think that whoever made the game is working through some stuff as they developed it, because man, there's some harsh and uncomfortable conversations in this game.
Yeah.
But the gameplay itself is actually pretty fun. It's basically you've got like this arena that you're in, and it's first person, so you know, whatever. But in the middle of this arena is a model of the arena that you're in.
Yeah.
And if you exit the arena into these side areas and then you go out the back of them, you come into a even larger arena as if you just left that model of the one that you were in.
All right.
And it scales everything up and down like that so that you can like drop a ball on the model and then you leave to go into the real area and there's an enormous ball there.
Interesting.
And so it's all about scaling the size between the model in the middle and the rest of the world around it.
Yeah.
And it's a neat puzzle gimmick. I just wish that it weren't so deeply uncomfortable anytime it starts talking at me.
Well, all right then.
It's a deeply uncomfortable game. That's my review.
What a great back of the box quote. A deeply uncomfortable game. Let's do the news.
Yeah.
First up, Retro Games is releasing a full-sized Amiga based on
Yes.
the A500 mini hardware, which, cool?
Yeah, they did this with the C64 a couple of years ago.
They did, yeah.
And the fan name for the full-size C64 they released is the C64 Maxi.
I remember that dumb name.
Yeah. And now they're doing an A500 Maxi, and I am excited for it.
Xbox and PS4/5 both lose Twitter support after API prices are raised. Are we still calling it Twitter? Do we still call it Twitter around here?
Most people are, yeah.
That's just, the whole what a fucking shit show.
I saw somebody posted a clip of a representative of Twitter, the well-known representative of Twitter, after he was informed that both Sony and Microsoft dropped support. He said, "I'll look into that."
What does that mean?
Like, what do you have to look into? You're the one that raised the API prices.
What are you looking at? What is Man, I mean, look, I think we all wanted Twitter to crash and burn
for years now, maybe decades.
Reality has a way of monkey pawing everything that happens.
Right?
Just fuck.
If the rest of social media could also crash and burn simultaneously, maybe not in such a bizarre and disastrous train wreck of a way, it'd be fine.
Escapist editor-in-chief Nick Calandra leaves The Escapist. Much of the staff, including Yahtzee, leave with him. Former staff are making a new site called Second Wind. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I'm kind of shocked that Escapist didn't die around the same time as like Screw Attack did.
Well, it was purchased by a company called Gamers, but it's spelled Gamurz, I think.
Yes, I worked for that company.
I'm sorry.
Year before last, I did writing for them.
Yeah, and when it was first acquired,
no, wait, with a Z or with an S? If it's an S, I worked for them.
Okay, then maybe. Anyway, when they were first acquired, the Escapist people were all like, "Oh, this is great news for us. We're getting more funding. This is not going to change anything. It's going to be great." And now it looks like that's not what happened.
I mean, it sucks for these people that are having trouble in their jobs, and I wish them the best. But I'm just kind of blown away that the Escapist still is a thing today.
Right.
Like, that's just kind of shocking.
I think it was propped up entirely by zero punctuation for a very long time there.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
And now that's
Absolutely.
over. So,
yeah. And I think it's important to note that Yahtzee does not have any of the rights to that show.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because those little cardboard cutout characters are really adorable.
Yeah. Taiko no Tatsujin. Drum and
Try
Fun.
that again.
Taiko no Tatsujin.
There you go.
Drum and Fun is being delisted. So now's your chance to buy it if you want to buy it.
Yeah, it may have already been delisted by the time this goes out. I don't remember the exact date.
Is that the one that was on Switch?
Yes, that is. And it's only the Switch version that is getting delisted. And it's
Of course.
presumably because of the
course.
music licenses. They didn't want to pay to renew them.
Former Kotaku writers making a site called Aftermath, a subscription-based gaming news service. And I love that their sales pitch when you go to the site is like, we've reimagined what video game blogs look like. And you go there and I gotta say, looks an awful lot like a video game blog.
My thing is that a lot of the websites are pitching it as this revolutionary new idea of subscription-based gaming news service because that way it can fund itself without relying on all these predatory advertisements. We had subscription-based gaming news services. They were called magazines. We had them for a very long time.
I'm in favor of more services being like this, not being lumped in with advertising and sponsorship dollars. I do think it's a little weird that between the new Escapist site and the new Kotaku People site, they're called stuff like Second Wind and Aftermath, which is very acknowledging of the fact that they're trying to be this kind of third wave of games journalism. There was the traditional, and then there's the internet advertising driven, and now is this like new
I think we're on like the third wave at this point.
It would have to be.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. What I would say is I'm kind of shocked that anybody still is using traditional websites for gaming stuff, but I literally worked for one 2 years ago and they were massively profitable. So I don't know, man. I don't.
You know,
Granted, the most profitable thing that our site put out was Roblox codes.
you know, the thing that gets me is I read a lot of stuff from the EFF, the Electronic Frontier Foundation.
Yeah.
And also the Mozilla blogs and stuff like that. A lot of stuff on data security and cybersecurity and stuff. And what stuns me is only 8% of internet traffic uses an ad blocker.
Mm-hmm. That is astronomically low to me.
How do you use the internet without an ad blocker?
Yeah, how people out there raw dogging the internet?
Yeah.
How explain to me what your life is like? What's even weirder is I've had multiple conversations with people who I don't want to use the word aggressive, but they are very much like, oh, you shouldn't use an ad blocker. Don't do that. That stops people that you like from getting money. And I countered with, well, I'll just whitelist the site if that's something I want. Like, I'd rather it be, opt in than opt out. That's my preferred default.
I didn't mind advertisements on the internet until they got aggressive and obstructive.
Yeah. Until we had to worry about our digital fingerprints.
Right. And
it's
disgusting. That's what it is now.
A new Tintin game was released despite developers saying it's basically unplayable and says they'll release patches for it later this year.
Yeah.
For Americans, Tintin is...
Yeah, we don't care about it being a Tintin game. We don't know anything about Tintin.
Yeah, we America kind of cared about that one Tintin movie that came out a few years ago that did pretty good, but that was like all we really gave a shit about Tintin.
And only barely. But the point is that a game came out where even the developers acknowledge that it is not in a playable state, that it does not work, and they still want your money for it.
We've come full circle.
It's just so depressing.
Buy this broken shit, pay us to fix it, and we might.
Yeah, and maybe in the future we'll fix it if enough people give us money.
Is this kind of, for people in like the UK, is this indicative of the quality of Tintin products? We don't know. I have no idea. For all I know, you're like, of course it was Tintin. I have no idea. Nintendo and Sony Pictures announce a live-action adaptation of The Legend of Zelda.
What is that?
It's like Metroid, but kind of worse. So like, imagine if Super Metroid wasn't as good.
Oh.
And they called it Link to the Past. Is anyone triggered yet? Is anyone upset? Have I upset anyone yet? I can feel Guy yelling at his microphone that is not on recording at all. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm going to say the same thing I said about the Mario movie. I'm sure it'll be a fine movie.
Yeah.
I really am. Yeah, a lot of people are pitching Tom Holland as Link. I would have said, before the Mario movie, I would have said that there's no fucking way Nintendo's going to pay that much.
Right.
But then they put full all-star cast in the Mario movie.
Right.
So I don't fucking know, man.
Yeah.
I really don't. My only real hope is that it gets to be kind of a PG-13 affair. I know that it won't be. No. I know that it will be PG because PG-13 limits sales and they're struggling to get people into movie theaters. But I would really love to see like a PG-13 Legend of Zelda movie. I think that would be a really good, I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, I saw somebody online was asking what would make you go see a Zelda movie, and one of the few responses that I saw to it that made sense to me was Nick Offerman as Ganondorf. And yeah, that would do it.
I would totally. I mean, look, we're going to go see the movie.
I still haven't seen the Mario movie yet.
Really?
Yeah, I own it.
Mario movie is pretty good.
Yeah, I just haven't gotten it.
You bought it.
Yeah, I did. I just didn't get around to watching it yet.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll probably be fine.
I feel like Legend of Zelda would be a great choice for like a live action miniseries rather than like a movie. But I guess when basically your plot is find triangles, and you can fit that into 2 hours. It'll be fine.
I wonder how many triangles they'll find.
I hope there are lots.
Yeah.
A live action, and never mind, I already read that. Take-Two announces.
No, you didn't already read that.
Oh, no, I didn't. It's a different one. I just assumed I read it. A live action adaptation of the mysterious Murasame Castle that was aired once on TV in Japan in the 80s has been found and put online.
It's neat. So
you can enjoy that if you want.
That's 2 episodes in a row. We had mysterious Murasame Castle news.
And I pronounced it correctly the first time this time around.
Yeah, you're very slow and deliberate, but you got it right.
Take-Two announces they will be announcing a new Grand Theft Auto game next month. This
Yeah.
is, again, an announcement of a thing that was leaked a long time ago.
Yeah.
We already know all about it. And man, I just don't fucking care.
It's going to make an
don't care.
obscene amount of money.
Oh, it's going to be stupid.
Yeah.
This is my hot take is that I think they're going to split out Grand Theft Auto Online. It's going to become its own ongoing live service and integrate into GTA 5 because people have already spent money on that ecosystem. And then the GTA 6 campaign is going to be its own thing and be $70 full in its own right.
I could see them upgrading GTA Online in some way that doesn't let you carry everything over, but does give you some bonus based on the things that you had in the previous
I could see
version.
that too. And
That
you have
way-
to pay for the new version.
Exactly. That way you have
Yeah.
to buy everything again, but you have some bonus showing that you used to have stuff before, just so that it'll convince people to upgrade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Microsoft's third-party controller ban didn't stop cheat devices, but it's blocking fighting game pads and third-party accessibility devices. Good job, Microsoft. You fucking shitheads. You were literally like the only thing Microsoft had was, hey, we have good controller accessibility options.
Right. And they still have the accessibility controller
Right.
that they
The
make.
proper one still
Yeah.
works.
That one works. It's just all these other ones that people have come to need to use are not available anymore. And that's frustrating.
Brooke has already issued statements. This is an absolute fucking blunder.
Yeah.
I can't think of a bigger fuck you to people than taking people who have very expensive aftermarket hardware and saying, hey, that stuff that used to work no longer works.
And
What
in
an
fairness, they never
asshole move.
claimed that it would work.
True, but now they're explicitly claiming it won't.
Yeah.
Take the agnostic approach.
See, the
Microsoft.
problem isn't that it was never meant to work. Like I've heard that argument from people as well. It was never meant to work, so this isn't a big thing. But it did work. There is proof of concept that it does in fact work correctly on that hardware. So they're intentionally taking it away now.
The argument that Microsoft never intended this hardware to work anyway is an argument that assholes make.
Right.
I'm just saying, if you're that person making that argument, you really need to reassess a little bit, man, because someone going to a store and buying a controller made for their Xbox and then it not working is fucking bullshit and it sucks for them.
Well,
It's anti-consumer.
Well, those controllers shouldn't say they are for Xbox if they haven't gotten the certification bullshit, whatever it is.
Sure, they shouldn't, but we all have Amazon.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, basically, Amazon is just glorified AliExpress these days anyway. You have no fucking idea, man.
I'm not even sure it's up to that quality anymore.
Embracer is closing Time Splitters developer Free Radical. CFO is leaving the company. This is after they reopened and said, hey, we're going to make new Time Splitters, and then that never happened, and then now it's gone. So, thanks, Embracer, you fucking assholes.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that maybe they flew a little too close to the sun.
That kind of implies that they're not still raking in obscene amounts of cash
I'm
and
sure
doing
they probably
extremely well for themselves. The Steam Deck OLED was announced. I'm very excited about this.
Yeah.
It is a new OLED Steam Deck. It's got slightly better battery life. It's slightly cooler.
Yep.
No real major power, capacity, power level change as far as the capability of the hardware. OLED screen is very nice, and they have also announced a limited edition colorway.
Yeah.
Saturn.
Mhm.
Saturn, listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's clear. You can see through the plastic.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see through it. It's
Right.
smoky, translucent plastic with red buttons.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
So I've got to buy it.
Now, I did hear that there is a minor, barely perceptible performance improvement in this.
There
model.
there is a processor differential.
Yeah.
But it looks, obviously we don't know what it looks like until it's in practice.
Well, I've seen some
the-
reviews of the final unit. And
really, the bigger upgrade to me, I think, is the new screen is 90 hertz now instead of 60 hertz. So for games that can sustain higher frame rates, you've got 90 hertz now, which is nice.
And apparently they updated the SteamOS software on it to make adjusting the frame rate per game even easier on the new model than it is on the existing
Wow,
model.
it's already so easy. I don't even know how they would make it easier unless it just read my mind. I've decided if I can get the limited edition one, I'm buying that because the assholes, Valve, the assholes, have made the new limited edition colorway, in their words, quote, highly limited.
Okay.
I don't know. That could mean there's 10,000 of them or there's 4 of them. I don't fucking know what that means. And now every time I see a reviewer that got one of the limited edition consoles, I'm pissed off because I'm like, that's one less. That's one less that's out there. So I'm going to try.
All the
as hard
reviews
as
I've seen are using the generic black version.
I've seen some using limited edition.
Oh, yeah? So here's the follow-up question. Are you going to then sell your original one or keep it as a backup?
Why would I sell my original Steam Deck?
I don't know.
I love my Steam Deck, Saturn.
But do you need
I don't know. Need is a very strong and aggressive attack upon my personal liberties.
Now, I also noticed they are getting rid of the version of the Steam Deck that has the MMC memory.
The old version's getting phased out.
So they're only going to keep models that have SSDs moving forward.
Yep. And on their site, they say these old models are available while supplies last. I think they dropped the price. They officially dropped the price of the dock down to $79. I'm excited. If I don't know. I don't know what they would change. It's also
90 hertz now.
Oh, the dock is? I think that's already. God damn it.
I think
90 hertz dock. So if I can get the limited edition, I'm buying it day one.
Yeah.
If I can't, I'll probably wait a little bit.
Yeah.
The question is if I can get the damn pre-order in. I hope I can. Sunsoft has announced a sequel to Euphoria coming next February. Sure, I guess. What is happening at Sunsoft?
Well, maybe their VTuber will tell us all about it.
I don't even. I love it.
You remember that weird video they released?
I remember
right?
the weird fucking Sunsoft video. They're like weird Nintendo Direct they did.
Yeah, we are back, and also now we are a VTuber.
And finally, Ion Neo has announced a mini retro PC, which is a cute little tiny mini PC. As far as I can tell, it's just a regular mini PC. It's not running any special. It's just a Windows mini PC, probably a Ryzen build. But it looks like all retro and cute, and I want it.
Yeah.
And it's currently going up on Indiegogo, which is how they do most of their products these days.
Yeah.
Which brings us to our topic at hand, which this week we're talking Play This, Not That Indie Edition.
Yeah.
How fun. So you can stop playing all of those dumb, lame, played-out games that you love and have been enjoying for years and play this other shit that's new and foreign and strange to you instead. Enjoy.
People love weird, foreign, strange things. Speaking of Euphoria.
Isn't it great?
Yeah.
Like on our previous Play This, Not That, we do want to say that this is not a list of games that are better than their original games.
Right.
It's just alternative games.
Yeah.
It's stuff that maybe for whatever reason, like, I don't know, the games are put out by a perpetually shitty corporation, or they're difficult to obtain, or they're very dated, or don't run good on modern Windows. Just alternatives to these kinds of games.
Yeah.
Things that kind of, in some way, hit the same notes.
Yeah.
And maybe you'll enjoy them as much or more as these original games. And as the title kind of dictates, this is specifically saying indie games. So this whole list is theoretically, and I did do my homework to make sure all of my games are published and developed by the same people. There's no publishers being brought in. It's full independent titles.
This is an indie studio called Activision.
It's
They're just a tiny company split off from Atari.
Because some games were on my list, and then I realized that they actually had notable publishers, so they got taken off of my list.
I'm curious what games those were.
I don't remember now. They're all gone. A lot of it was like published by Humble, or a few of them were published by, I don't know, I forget. But, some of the smaller publishers. Anyway, it was kind of accidental, but I ended up choosing games that all seem very capable of running on very, very limited hardware. So if you happen to have a crazy low-end machine, then everything I've listed here should work fine. Some of it will run great.
Maybe it'll run on that mini PC.
Maybe. I also ignored alternatives that simply use the original assets of games and re-implement them into newer engines, such as the open source Diablo engines or like Wargus for Warcraft 1 and 2.
Right.
I want them to be wholly new, original experiences.
No OpenLara or...
None of that happen to hit the same notes, because there are some wonderful games out there doing that, where they're taking old assets from old games and putting them in new modern engines, and that's a totally different topic.
Yeah.
Also... It's worth noting that what I find similar about these games, because I'm just going to spoil one of my choices, StarCraft is on my list.
Yeah.
And it's a good example of what I like about StarCraft is going to be different than what someone like, I don't know, Guy likes about StarCraft. So what I find to be a proper alternative for StarCraft is going to be very different than something he would find to be a proper alternative to StarCraft, or Saturn would find to be a proper alternative, because we like different aspects of these games in different ways.
I need, in my StarCraft alternative, I need to work with the N64 controller.
I just need it to be way sexier. That's my requirement.
Yeah.
StarCraft, but I wish that's what was on my list. So yeah, everything here is indie. A lot of it is free. Several of them, of my choices, are open source, and they should all run on low-end hardware. All of them, but one of them should run on extremely low-end hardware. So yeah, that's the caveats before we get into the list.
I one additional caveat is the last time we did this thing, I also picked mostly indie games. So I had to, one, narrow those off of my list, and two, remember that I don't play as many indie games as I probably should.
I'm hoping I didn't pick anything off the old list. I meant to go look the old list up, and I did not. So hopefully...
I don't think you did. I kind of skimmed what you had, and I don't believe you did.
All of these, most of these on the list, I played for this show. I went out seeking these alternatives and found these.
Yeah.
My first pick is Play BattleBit Remastered, not Call of Duty, Battlefield, whatever your gray-brown military shooter of choice happens to be these days. I don't know what the kids is playing.
Call
anymore.
of Duty.
It's
still
Call of Duty.
Yeah.
This is developed and published by Sergeant Okie Dokie and a bunch of other screen names. Just seems to be some people.
Yeah.
It's $14.99. It's currently in early access on Steam, and it is literally Battlefield, but Minecraft graphics.
Nice.
It's to the point that every time I saw it recommended on my Steam list, I assumed it was one of those games that's just kind of like a weird Minecraft adjacent Roblox knockoff kind of thing. It's not. It is literally like, it's Battlefield. It has 254 player maps. It uses a class-based system like Battlefield. It lets you customize your class. You rank up and unlock different things. It has a full suite of Battlefield-style vehicles, helicopters, tanks, jeeps, ATVs. There's a ton of game modes, full voice chat support, and this is my favorite part, very robust muting and reporting options. And the servers, there's lots of full servers. It's got very positive reviews on Steam. It has a lot of concurrent players. I had so much fun playing this game. I don't do online gray-brown military shooters, but something about this game, it's kind of silly. Because it is literally like a very serious gray-brown military shooter, online FPS, but everyone's made of blocks.
Yeah.
And so I play, in Battlefield games, I play a medic because I'm bad at the game. I'm not good at shooting them in. So I play a medic, and I literally crawl prone on the ground, healing people as they die. And I love this. In these big maps, there will be fronts that will naturally occur at choke points, where there's choke points on the map, and it's just this huge battle occurs here, 50, 60 people in it. And the microphones work such that if you're near someone, you'll hear them if they're on your team. And whenever people die in this game, they pretend they're dying. They role play dying. So you see these people laying on the ground, and they're made of blocks, and they're going, "Oh man, I can't feel my legs, medic!" And they're calling for help as I'm crawling over to them and healing them. And then you heal them, and they're like, "Oh, thanks!" And then they get shot in the head immediately again. And it's just really fun. There's this kind of silly element to it.
Yeah, until literally this moment, I had no idea there were medics in Call of Duty or Battlefield or any of that.
I don't know if it's a thing in Call of Duty.
I just always assumed that Call of Duty and Battlefield and all those were just the exact same game as Halo, which is the exact same game as Unreal Tournament. And it's all just shooting other people's.
This is class-based, so you can be a medic, you can be an engineer. And I like playing medic, so I just go around and heal people. I get lots of points. I get to rank up and unlock stuff, even though I'm really bad at shooting people. And it's just really fun, man. I played on some really fun servers that were really casual. I know this is going to sound weird when I say it, but I played on servers that had women playing.
What?
Which I don't know. Which isn't a problem. Obviously, that's a good thing for people that don't play online gray-brown military shooters. Women have a hard time being in these communities at all because they're harassed so badly.
So, Justin, for the gamers in our audience, could
Yeah.
you describe what a woman is?
It's like a man,
Uh-huh.
but different.
Oh,
They're what you would call human beings,
right.
the same way we are human beings,
I'm confused.
and they should be
again.
extended the same human being courtesies as we extend other men.
Right.
I know this is all shocking concepts.
Yeah.
But it was just, I had a really good time with it. It was fun.
Mhm.
It has a lot of game modes. It's for all intents and purposes, it is basically your standard high player count military shooter, but cute, able to run on anything. It's affordable. The entire game is 3 gigabytes.
Mhm.
And I went and checked to see what the most recent Call of Duty is install wise. It's 149 gigabytes.
And also, doesn't the new one require that you also install the last game as well?
I don't know.
So,
Probably.
I keep
mean,
reading news articles about how the newest game is basically just a mod pack for the last game, so it makes you
Yeah.
install the old one too.
Yeah. I don't know. I have
That's
no idea.
Disgusting.
A lot of the servers I played in had really big things at the front that are like anti-harassment,
Nice.
reporting tools.
Nice.
They seem to care. It's just like, I feel like I'm playing Battlefield 4 again, but with people that care, and it's fun, and it's a good time, and it's $15. You know, I had an awesome time with BattleBit Remastered. It was so much fun to find a good indie first-person shooter that I could get to do the competitive online first-person shooter thing without having to play fucking Call of Duty. What is your first pick, Saturn?
I also went with a current high-end, highly popular game series,
Yeah.
and I am bringing up an alternative to Lemmings. Basically the same as Call of Duty,
Yeah, pretty much.
but with the blocky graphics.
Yes.
So I'm going to say play Pingus, not Lemmings.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, based on the last couple of games they did release, Sony's just going to fuck up Lemmings anyway if they do bother to re-release it again.
Mm-hmm.
And Pingus is a open source alternative. It's available on GitHub, and you can download it for Windows or Linux, and you can even mod it to look like Lemmings if you so choose. But it's got some of its own abilities in addition to all the traditional Lemmings abilities like building and bashing and digging and all that stuff. But it's also got some new stuff like jumping, and it's not like it really has to have Lemmings anyway, because we all know that Disney made all that shit up, that Lemmings don't really follow each other off cliffs, so it makes just as much sense to use penguins instead.
Right, of course.
But this is from that era of Linux gaming where every Linux game had to have penguins in it.
Mm-hmm.
But fortunately, it is still developed, and it has Windows ports as well, so it's available
My
to
daughter
people.
plays Tux Paint at school on the computers.
Nice. It's a good one, too.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever play Super Tux Kart?
I have played Super Tux Kart.
Yeah, it's not bad.
In fact, a kart racing game almost made it on my list
Nice.
and ended up not.
Yeah. But no, it's cute. It's charming. Maybe it's not quite as charming as Lemmings, but it's pretty close. And I would say the music is better than what Sony has put in the last few Lemmings games.
Yeah.
And it scratches the Lemmings itch for me without me having to acknowledge Sony. And
Yeah.
I'm always a fan of that.
That's the important thing, is not acknowledging Sony.
Yes.
My second pick is a game called Unciv. Play Unciv, not Civilization 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
And Unciv is a fully open source Mozilla Public License 2.0 released game. Works on Android, contains virtually all of the major beats of Civ 5
Yeah.
for a 100% discount.
Yeah.
And the added ability of running on basically any functioning hardware. I mean, it literally 99% of the graphics are cut out. It's pretty much just menus.
Yeah.
It does use the hex-based single unit per tile system that Civ 5 uses, and includes multiple victory conditions as well as similar content to that released in Gods and Kings expansion of Civ 5. A lot of the Civ 5 expansion ideas that have been introduced are incorporated into Unciv
Nice.
and have been over time, and it seems that they're working on adding more. It has a fully functioning multiplayer system, a decent-sized Discord community of people playing, and ongoing updates.
Nice.
It is not a visually striking game. If you want Civ 5 or 6 because they look cool, this is not that. This looks bad. It's a bad-looking game. But if you just want the gameplay of Civ, it is all the nuts and bolts for Civ 5 are there.
Yeah.
It is Civ 5.
It's like if Civ 5 were made for Windows 3.
Yeah, it's Civ 5 with no graphics.
Yeah.
And it already does have pretty robust mod support. I haven't messed around with any of the mods, but it's just because sometimes I get that Civ, I want to play a 4X like Civ, but I don't know. It's just, I don't want to play Civ. I got to install it, and it's big, and Civ 5 doesn't run awesome for me, and it just is a thing. And instead, I can just put Unciv on my phone, download it out of the F-Droid shop, or get it off the Unciv website, and it's just there, and I get my little Civ fix, and then I can move on about my day. I can minimize it without worrying about it crashing or anything. I can leave it up in the background. It's just nice. It's all of the strategy and fun of Civ 5 without all of the overhead or money. So I had a good time with Unciv.
Nice.
I kept seeing it in the F-Droid store and never picking it up because I don't know what the fuck it is. And so I finally did.
Nice.
And it's good. What's your second pick, Seth?
My second pick, I am going to go with a completely different route and say that you should play Free Civ instead of Civilization.
Oh.
Have you played Free Civ before?
I've not. I think I've seen it on stuff, but I don't know that I've played it.
So I first played Free Civ about close to 20 years ago because it came with some Linux build that I had. Mm-hmm. And it advertised itself as Civ 2, but not. And it was very much Civ 2, but not. Almost identically Civ 2, but not.
It looks like there's also a fully web browser-based version of Free Civ. So you don't even have to install anything.
Right. And it has evolved a ton since I first played it. In addition to where it started, which was just Civ 2, it now has its own default rule set, which is not the same as Civilization's, but its own creation, essentially. And originally, when I first played it, it looked a lot like Civ 1, where it was just an overhead view. But then they have since added the isometric view that's used in Civ 2 and 3, the 3D rendered view from Civ 4, where it actually uses 3D rendering, and they even have hex grid style like in Civ 5 and 6.
Oh, wow.
They just keep adding in features from other Civ games and other 4X games. And like Unciv, it's easily modded. So you can add a ton of user-generated customizations and content. And it still comes pre-installed with some Linux builds, not as many as it used to, but it is available in most Linux repositories, and it is available on Windows, and like you said, in a web browser. So it's readily available if you want to try it. And there's just so many different ways to customize it, but even just the default mode, which is still kind of Civ 2 looking, but plays a little more unique, is a lot of fun. But just having all of those options to be able to turn it into whatever Civ game you want it to be and still play it on basically a potato is great.
I checked the install for the Windows version is 60 megabytes.
Yeah, it's huge.
So there's two nice 4X games,
right,
for you. Don't play Civ anymore. You don't need to. we don't need Firaxis anymore.
Oh,
fuck you, Firaxis. Get the hell out of here. My third pick is play Star Rust, not StarCraft.
Yeah.
And I previously praised Rusted Warfare on a recent show for being a fun little RTS that would run on a potato.
With an awkward name.
All of that, awkward name. All of that remains true with Star Rust layered on top of it. It's just a really good, fun, low-to-the-ground RTS with tons of queuing options available that make for like a really fun, efficient gameplay workflow. Star Rust is a mod for Rusted Warfare that's available on Steam Workshop for the game, converts the experience to a StarCraft-like game. You get 4 factions to choose from, and they're very StarCraft-esque. You can tell which ones are supposed to be the Terrans and the Zerg and the Protoss, and there's a 4th one.
Oh.
I don't really know what they are because I've never picked them. But it adds in, it changes the resource system of the game to be more StarCraft-like. So it gives you crystals and gas.
Vespene gas.
Yeah, you got crystals and gas. The 4 factions have fully custom units.
Nice.
There's also a Warcraft version called War Rust. And while we're at it, Rusted Warfare itself has a ton of other themed mods, including but not limited to Warhammer 40k, Alien vs. Predator, Star Wars, Command & Conquer Red Alert 3, Lord of the Rings, Star Trek, and 1,000 other themed and non-themed mods that do all manner of things.
Nice.
But Star Rust is it's like, for me, again, being a StarCraft outsider, someone that played and enjoyed the game a little bit.
Yeah.
I think I got through most of the campaign of the first game, and played maybe 6 or 7 games with friends. That is my experience with the original StarCraft.
You've dabbled.
I've dabbled. I'm a dabbler. It feels like StarCraft to me, but with some of the advanced options that stuff like Tiberian Sun brought into the RTS genre.
Makes sense.
And it's just nice. It's just really nice. And I don't have to install a Blizzard launcher or any of that shit.
Right.
And it's great. And I love it. And I'm still enjoying Star Rust. It has quickly become my go-to RTS when I just want to hammer out a game of something.
Nice.
There is no traditional StarCraft campaign. So if you were like me and you played StarCraft games mostly as campaign-based single-player experiences, it has some like mission modes and stuff, but there's no like campaign to speak of.
Right.
But in practice, if I squint, it feels pretty StarCraft to me. And that's enough. And I enjoy that.
Nice.
What's your third pick here?
So my next one, I'm going to go with a turn-based strategy instead of a real time. And I'm going to say play Tanks of Freedom instead of Advance Wars.
Oh.
And
I like Advance Wars.
Right? So this is kind of a quasi-isometric take on Advance Wars that still tries to go with like the cutesy pixely graphics, but not quite as cartoony.
And it's on itch. And there's a sequel.
Yes, there is a sequel now. And it's on a lot of stuff. It's on Windows, Mac, Linux, Android. So you can probably find something that you own that'll play it.
Yeah.
There's
also a Google Play beta version of it.
Yes, you can get it through the Google Play Store, or you can just download it directly under Android if you don't want to go through Google Play. But yeah, it's just a really charming indie take on that kind of gameplay that you see in Advance Wars or in Military Madness. My biggest complaint was I had tried to play it on my desktop, and I have a 4K screen, and it's not designed with a 4K screen in mind.
Yeah.
So while the game itself plays fine and you can zoom in and it'll look fine, the text anytime a unit is talking at you shows up teeny tiny at the bottom of the screen. So maybe you don't want to play it on a 4K screen. The mobile port might be a little better for that. The weirdest thing about it is that you have points that you have to spend each turn, and the same pool of points are used for either moving or attacking or for building new units, which adds a different kind of strategy than you see in Advance Wars. Because normally in Advance Wars, you just move all your units and then you go and build things. And in this, if you do that first, you don't have any more points to build anything because you moved everything already. So you have to decide at the beginning of your turn, what am I going to do? Am I going to build anything this round? Do I think my units will survive any of the attacks I'm going to do? Do I need to go ahead and start refilling units? So there is that extra layer of strategy that is a little different than what you see in Military Madness or in Advance Wars. And I started to dig on that once I was a few missions in. But it does...
because it seems like it would keep you from getting into that kind of like late game era where it's like, I'm just spamming huge amounts of units because I can.
Right.
And really it's kind of tedious to do it, but what else am I going to do? I have the resources.
Yeah, so it does give you something else to think about.
And it's fully open source, apparently.
Yes,
I was just checking their website. Fully open source.
Yeah. So yeah, it is fun. I spent a couple hours playing it the other night, and it is like I went into it thinking it was just going to be some cheesy knockoff, but no, it's pretty good. I dig it.
Very interesting. I'm like writing down your picks to play them later. My fourth pick is
you have access to these notes, right?
I do. I hadn't read them.
Oh, okay.
My fourth pick is play Zonotic, not Quake 3 or Unreal Tournament. So in the long, long ago of the Linux world, there was a Quake 3 clone called Nexuiz.
Okay.
And that was released under the GPL.
Yeah.
And it was moderately popular in Linux circles.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, a company called Ilphonic announced that they'd be remaking Nexuiz, but that it was not a free and open source
I remember
game.
hearing about that.
It was published by THQ. It did poorly. Having licensed the rights to the Nexuiz name to Ilphonic, the Nexuiz team forked the game and began working on Zonotic, which is the true current successor to Nexuiz. So with all of this Linux world drama out of the way, I'd never played Zonotic. I had played Nexuiz, and I was like, that's fun, but Q3's better.
Yeah.
Zonotic is really slick. It has a Quake 3 style campaign where you're just kind of doing pre-planned bot matches. There are a decent amount of players at any given time. There are dedicated server options. There's a lot of server mutators that you can turn on to do weird things in your matches. It has full bot support, which I know sounds like something all games should have, but guess what? Turns out they don't.
Yeah.
One thing I love is, unlike Quake 3, it borrows from Unreal Tournament in that almost all of the weapons have a secondary fire.
Nice.
Which I really, really love. I miss it a lot when I'm playing Quake 3 because it just adds that little extra layer of on-the-go utility whenever you're playing these games, different ways to use these weapons. And when you see someone with a weapon, you're not sure how it's going to be expressed at you violently. You have to, kind of guess a little bit.
You can see other people's weapons before they've already killed you?
Of course you can, Saturn. It's
That
called
seems
looking
impossible.
with your eyeballs.
No. By the time you see someone, you're dead, right?
So I love the secondary fire. The game has a ton of game modes. It has one called Next Ball. It has Freeze Tag, CTF, Last Man Standing, like a dozen others. It has all your standard stuff, Assault. It's got Stronghold modes. It's got Point Control, Team Deathmatch, Deathmatch, etc.
Does it have something like Bombing Run?
Which one is Bombing Run?
That's the one where you find the bomb and you have to throw it through the goal on the other team.
I think that's what Next Ball might be, but I
Nice.
didn't play Next Ball. But there's a shitload of modes.
Nice.
They have a decent new player guide on their website. But it is kind of your standard early aughts arena shooter in practice. It's, rocket jumping and strafing and stuff like this.
Yeah.
They do have the voiceover whenever you get lots of triple kills or rampages or
Nice.
whatever. There is a voice that's like, triple kill. So that's fun. It is the full source code and a level editor software are available on their website, as well
Nice.
as downloads for all the previous versions of the game. My only thing that I really miss is vehicles.
Yeah.
And there is a community map that has vehicles in it. And it's kind of UT-like when you're playing it. And there does seem to be some intent to officially support them at some point in the far-flung future. But the things I was reading about that were from 2 or 3 years ago, so who knows if that's actually going to be a thing or not.
My favorite thing about the UT 03 and 04 announcer was always that it sounded like it was commentary from someone who was learning English as they were saying it.
Mm-hmm.
That was great. I miss that guy.
It's definitely a little weird. There's a simplified graphics mode in case your computer is like extremely low end.
Nice.
And it's just fun, man. It plays like these early aughts arena shooters. You don't have to install anything. It's just an executable you download.
Yeah.
I had a really fun time with it. It captures a lot of the feel of UT and Quake 3 at the same time. And I was able to find plenty of servers with people playing. I played a lot of matches with bots. It's good. It looks really good with the graphics modes turned up. It's a very good looking game. It looks a lot better than UT04 or Quake 3 at this juncture. And it's free. It's fully copyleft GPL V3 Plus.
Nice.
Which is what they're at now. V3 Plus. And I had a good time with that. I think next time we do a server of something, Unreal Tournament or Quake related in the Retro Warriors server, we might do Zonotic because then we don't have to answer the questions of, hey, where can I pirate this game? Because I don't own it or it's not available or this or that. And I don't have to fight with ancient dedicated server software that doesn't really want to run on modern systems or is goofy in some way.
Yeah. Or third-party server software that isn't really supported by the game.
Yes. Anyway, that's Zonotic. It's Windows Linux, Mac. It's on everything,
Nice.
and it's a good time. What's
Nice.
your fourth pick?
Well, I wanted to find an alternative to that big AAA blockbuster that everybody remembers, Sweet Home.
Yeah, that very well known NES Japan exclusive horror themed blockbuster.
Now this
What
is
Sega might call a super game.
yeah. No, this is an indie game that I'd been playing, and I kept making this comparison in my head. So don't play Sweet Home, play Evil Tonight. This is such a charming little game. It is I'm not even sure if Sweet Home would be the right comparison, because it almost feels gameplay wise like it's closer to Resident Evil, because it doesn't have those turn-based JRPG battles. You directly shoot at the ghosts and monsters and whatever. So it's essentially a horror game. However, it has
It's like
cutesy
cute 16-bit.
Yeah. It's got these cutesy, like late 16-bit, early 32-bit 2D graphics that make it look like a charming little Super Nintendo game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to be too scared by it because it's just so adorable and charming. And all the dialogue and story has this 80s, early 90s anime aesthetic where everybody is super chipper and happy all the time, which doesn't really fit in a horror story, but it makes it really stupid and funny to me. But it's got all the staples that you expect from a late 90s survival horror game where you have to solve puzzles and find keys in different rooms. Most of the solutions to the puzzles are found in the room where the puzzle is, which is nice, so you don't have to go all over the damn map to find some note somewhere that you forgot to read. But it's just really charming. It kind of gives that RPG Maker vibe when you first see it.
Yeah,
but I
could see that.
I don't think it's made in RPG Maker. It feels a little more complex than that. My biggest complaint about it is that it really needs an in-game map.
Oh,
which any kind of game like this where you're going back and forth and exploring a territory really needs a map. It's not a huge area, so it's not that big of a deal, but it does get frustrating, and there were a few times where I've been trying to remember where I'm going and how I got somewhere. But it's just really charming. It's really cute, and I think you should play it.
Okay.
Well, not you personally.
No.
No, you don't like horror stuff. You might like it. It's cute enough that you might be able to get past it.
It looks cute enough that it might not upset me.
Yeah, it's pretty adorable.
My final pick is don't play Black and White or whatever dated old god game you like.
Doshin the Giant.
Don't play Doshin the Giant. Play Worldbox.
Oh.
This was created by Maxim Karpenko, currently in early access on Steam. I think it's $20. And it is just a really awesome kind of fantasy-themed god game sandbox where you populate worlds, watch the civilizations that interact, perform various miracles, and generally kind of sit around like a kid with an ant farm. Going into the game, you have many, many toolbars, and it is completely mouse-driven. You can play the whole game with just the mouse and I think the control key and the alt key. It also has full controller support. Everything's very like cute pixel graphics and cute sounds, and all your little creatures that you generate make little cute Pikmin sounding noises.
Oh.
And you're just given a blank world, and you can go in there. You have 4 kind of main species of characters, which are elves, dwarves, humans, and orcs. And they all have their various quirks and things they like to do. And you just start populating this world. You can hold the shift key and spit out a bunch of them at once, and then they just kind of live. And once they're living there, you can do things like create different biomes for them to live in, fill things with monsters or different kinds of animals that you just plop into the world. There's no real goal. There's no campaign. It's just here's various worlds. Steam Workshop is full of different worlds that people have created. Like I was playing one that was literally just like the regular Earth, but mapped out in this game.
Dang.
And so of course I started all my people in Africa and then put it up on 5X and just watched how they spread across the globe. It has lots of cool options for printing various landforms, which is neat. So you can pick these kind of, I guess, like stamps and plop them onto the world, and it sort of stamps these landforms. You can also just sort of SimCity style draw landforms in water and lava and volcanoes or water geysers, whatever you want.
Nice.
and it has really cool stuff where you can influence people. You can add different traits to them. Like, hey, I want to make this dwarven civilization really ambitious. I want to make these elves really good at mining. And you can just kind of subtly tweak these civilizations as time goes on. You can also create or encourage various relationships between different species. Like, you can be like, hey, I want everyone to hate this civilization. And then just kind of watch how it plays out. There's different ages that you can enter into that will shift periodically. Like, there's an age of wonder where everyone's very excited about the world and ready to explore. There's ice ages. It's just there's so much cool stuff.
Nice.
It's just a big, giant, blank sandbox with 1,000 tools and levers for you to pull. The disasters tab is so much fun. There's a giant crab that shows up and shoots laser beams, destroys your whole planet. You can destroy your planet battle. with a nanovirus.
Nice.
You can infect some people with zombie virus and then watch a zombie plague spread across the land. It's just, there's so much cool stuff in this game. It's the most fun, open, easy to get into God game I think I've probably ever played.
Nice.
The tutorial is like a minute long, and then you just kind of go. You just start plopping dudes down there and seeing what happens. And
so the opposite of Simirth.
yeah, and then deciding that, hey, I'm going to make everyone hate this one orc, but I'm also going to give him a shield to make him invincible so that even though the entire world hates him, he's invincible for about a minute, and then he dies.
Could you also give me that shield?
Sure.
Sweet.
There's one map I downloaded that was every single current world in the real world civilization, all named. So it's like, oh, here's France, here's Germany, here's China, here's, all these different civilizations from the real world, but they're each on the exact same size circular plot of land. And each plot of land is separated completely from the others by ocean. And then everything is a fully developed civilization with all the accoutrement that comes with it. And so I just opened it and I was like, I don't know, everyone fucking hates Greenland today. And then I made the whole world go kill Greenland by hating them so much.
And then we all hate Wyoming tomorrow.
Just for no reason. It's just fun.
Nice.
It reminds me a lot of when I played Mario Paint as a kid.
Yeah.
It's just kind of one of those games you can open up and kind of ant farm style goof off in and not really have a goal, but then as you play, you sort of invent goals for yourself. Or you'll, like, I was playing one world where I was really, for whatever reason, invested in this orc civilization. It was this island world, and I said, all right, this island is all elves, and this one's all dwarves, and this one's all humans, and this one's all orcs.
Yeah.
And all the other species were doing great, but the orcs were just, I don't know, too dumb or something to like build a good civilization. I kept growing them extra trees and stuff. And then by the end of it, I'm full on casting miracles to protect them from getting devastated by these other creatures.
Justin, why do you think there aren't any orcs left in real life?
Look, I just
They're
liked
just
them.
too stupid.
And then I wasn't paying attention for a couple of ages, and the dwarves just wiped them out.
That'll happen.
So I just made another orc civilization. And then I gave them superpowers, and I made it rain blood so that they would heal. And then I made my blood-drenched orcs take over the world.
Well, orcs heal by raining blood, right?
Don't you know?
Totally normal.
It's just really cool, man. It's
sounds
really fun. This is the only game out of my list that, depending on what you're doing, if you're on like a Pentium 4, might have some struggles, but graphically it's all cute pixel art. And when you zoom all the way out, all the individual creatures turn into single dots, which is cute. And you can zoom all the way in and follow them. It's fun. For as much as I love like Dwarf Fortress for its complexities,
yeah,
I love this game because of its accessibility.
Nice.
I would say if you're the kind of person that like Dwarf Fortress looks really cool, but you just are not fucking invested in putting in the time to learn that, and you just kind of want to poke at a civilization, this is fun. This is a really fun game to goof around in. What's your last pick, Saturn?
So I was trying to think of something as far as an actual horror game, because like I mentioned, I've been playing Alan Wake lately.
Yes.
Which, as I've been playing Alan Wake 2, I realized that it's the game that I want from a sequel for Silent Hill. Since Konami's not going to fucking do that. But Alan Wake is not a small game. It is not an indie game at all. Remedy is not indie, and neither is their publisher Epic.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to think of what indie horror game I did want to put here. and I landed on Signalis. So
Mhm.
don't play whatever horror game you're going to play Signalis. Though I think it is technically breaking one of your rules because Humble did publish
It
the
is
physical
Humble
version.
published, so
Yeah. But it's still an indie game, and it's still
Yeah.
an indie developer, so I'm still going with it.
I'm still trying to figure out what the graphical style of this game is. It's
So,
very
It is,
odd.
yeah. It kind of goes for pixel crossed with early polys. The
Yeah,
game
it
is
feels like Resident Evil 1 kind of thing.
the whole game is polygonal, by the way.
Mhm.
It is all fully rendered in 3D. Somebody made a camera hack where you can play the game over the shoulder, and the entire game is rendered in 3D, despite the fact that it looks like it's a pixelated thing.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's a fully 3D rendered horror game, and and I've talked about it on the show in the past when I was playing it, but it gets really fucking weird at times and really sad too. Because it's a post-apocalyptic thing. You play as I think they tell you up front that it is an android or something, and as you get further in, you learn whether or not your memories are even real or where they came from or who you're trying to remember, and it's you're trying to find this woman that you think you might be in love with, or maybe it's an old friend, and the game kind of strings you along as to whether or not you're going to remember it. But in the process, it does a lot of shit that's just really unnerving and creepy and unsettling, and I enjoyed it. And it's got that classic survival horror gameplay of, solving simple puzzles while also shooting zombies in the face. And some of the bosses are really, really tough. But I do like the perspective. Most of the game is played in that quasi overhead pixely art style, but there are a couple of moments where it just cuts into first person for a puzzle or two.
Yeah.
But it's really neat.
It looks really good. It looks really like Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah, it's very, very good. So good. It took me off guard with how creepy it ended up getting, because I was expecting like indie horror, pixel art, kind of B- scares, but there are a couple of times in the game where it was just really unsettling. So I appreciated that. Definitely worth it. Worth checking out if you enjoy the horror games.
Yeah. If you have a good alternative to games that we should be playing,
yes,
please come tell us in Discord or on Patreon or not Facebook. Please, I appreciate that people want to message us, but Facebook.
Sorry, I copy pasted that from the last time we did this.
But yeah, if you have games that are good alternatives to big popular games, then tell us, because we want to check them out and play them, and maybe get subtly bullied by Saturn into playing horror games like Signalis, because it looks really fun.
Oh, it's so good.
It looks fun, but
you would hate it.
Scary, really?
It's so scary at times. You would really hate that.
Oh no!
It's on Game Pass though.
Okay,
it was. It might not still be on Game Pass.
No! Stop this! Stop it, Saturn! This fucking roller coaster, let me off! Fuck!
No, you would find it very creepy. If you're afraid of the Yeti and Ski Free, you're probably going to be afraid of Signalis.
It is not my fucking fault that the Yeti and Ski Free is objectively terrifying. With his huge yellow fangs and his beady red eyes. His belly's so big because he's eating so many skiers. Final thoughts. Indie games are cool and fun. You can play awesome games without shoving money into the pockets of corpo scum.
That's true.
You don't have to do that. You can just play this other shit.
You can shovel money into smaller people's pockets.
Or sometimes not give them any money for their hard work.
Sometimes they let you do it for
like
free.
These free games, you should probably give them some money. You probably can. But yeah, lots of really good alternatives to other stuff out there. I really enjoyed researching for this episode and doing this episode.
I have enjoyed looking up the games that you were talking about as you were talking about them, and apparently you looking up the games I was talking about while I was talking about them.
Yeah, I'm like adding shit to my wish list over here. Like, okay, this is going on my Steam wish list.
Right.
How fun. I think there's a couple games I wanted to add to my list that ended up. Super Indie Karts is one of them that springs to mind. That was a kart racing game with stars from
various
indie games. It was developed and published by One Legged Seagull. As far as I know, it's the only game they ever put out, and it's a pretty fun kart racer. But it's just, It didn't make my list because while it is a very fun, very good kart racer,
Mm-hmm.
it is still so not as good as Mario Kart 8 Deluxe with expansion passes that I kind of struggled with it. You
Yeah.
know, the stuff I put on this list, I really wanted to feel like, yes, I would rather play this. Like, I would rather play BattleBit than any of the Battlefield games at this juncture. I really would. I would rather play World Box than just about any other God game at this juncture. You know, I really wanted to pick things that, like, no, this is a real alternative that I will be playing instead of that long term. And so, yeah.
And we have at
Super
least
Andy
2
Karts.
different alternatives to Civ you can play now.
We do. There's 2 different versions of Civ so that you don't have to do the thing that I do where I go, I want to play Civ. And then you install Civ 5 and it takes like 90 hours. And then you boot it up and you're like, oh my God, I wish this game ran better. And you're like, maybe it'll run on Steam Deck. And then you're like, well, it kind of runs on Steam Deck, but I had to install it again. And that took forever. And I guess I'm bored of it now. And that's basically how it works.
I just keep Civ
For
4
me.
installed all the time, no matter what.
Let me see. I was going to check and see. I don't think I have no Civs installed.
No, yeah, I've had Civ 4 installed on every computer at all times since 2004.
No, I don't have any of them installed. Anyway, if you want to give us money,
Brilliant segue. Best one yet.
Patreon.com/RetroWarriors is our website. Our website's retrowarriors.net. Listen, I'm getting in the weeds here. You can give us money if you want.
You
if you
can
don't-
find the link tree in our description. That way
Yeah, if you don't want to
have
give us
do all
money like
this.
all the time, you just want to do it some of the time, then we have a Ko-Fi page that you
Yeah.
can give us money on. We've received $5 there, so hey, you know it
Yeah.
works. The system works. We checked. We want to thank the following patrons, starting with Andy.
I don't know why the way you pronounce that caught me off guard. And Coin Up Drunk,
Dane McMillan,
Eastern European Annie Edison,
Friendly Phalanx,
James Marks,
Mark Ahern,
Rick J,
Rob Clark,
and Victor Vila.
are all the people we want to thank for their kind contributions to our patreon.com/retrowarriors.html/main.html question mark. I don't look. Please,
Follow the link tree if you want to get to the Patreon, because Justin's just going to talk nonsense at you.
if the show provides value to you, then we would love for you to provide value to us with your money. There's no easy way to beg.
Now, you'll also get other patron exclusive content like Talking Wizards.
I think that just by its nature, begging just feels kind of weird and awkward.
Yeah. Well, you're the one who does it every week.
Money me, please. Me money now.
It's his money and he wants it now.
Call J.G. Whitworth. Accept some cash now.
Now you're advertising other people for free.
I am. J.G. Whitworth, you owe us money for that.
A money, at least a
Which you
money.
can give us at patreon.com/retrowarriors. Our new patron, J.G. Whitworth.
Someone's changing their name next month. You know it.
We're going to have like 50 J.G. Whitworths next time we record. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to this episode. We'll be back next week. And as always, let us cling together.